In previous slides, we had seen how coal is transported, then unloaded, and that coal through conveyor belts passing through different crushers, primary and secondary, it reaches to raw coal bunker, and from there, from the raw coal bunker, it moves to the very important equipment of thermal power plant, that is pulverizing unit. In this unit, coal is pulverized, that is, it is ground to dust-like size and is carried to the furnace with the help of a stream of hot air, that is known as primary air, and generally its temperature is kept as 70 to 80 degrees centigrade. The meaning of pulverization is exposing a large surface area for the action of oxygen and consequently which helps combustion. A separate class is already kept over the coal milling plant, where you will see in detail the types of milling plant and how a milling plant works. The very important other component is boiler, where steam is generated at desired pressure and temperature by transferring heat produced by burning of coal, and in furnace, water changes its phase from liquid to steam, and this steam further passes through turbine, and turbine rotates or it develops kinetic energy or rotational energy and rotates generator. Generally, the turbines which are used in power plant are classified into three parts depending upon the operating pressure. One is HP turbine, that is high pressure turbine. Second one is intermediate pressure turbine or IP turbine, and third is low pressure turbine or LP turbine. Next important component is condenser. The steam generated in boiler after passing through turbine is sent to condenser, where steam again changes its phase from vapor to liquid with the help of cooling water. Generally, we are using surface type of condenser, which is a shell and tube type of heat exchanger, where cooling water flows through tubes and exhaust steam fed into this shell surround the tubes. As a result, steam condenses outside the tubes. You can see here that steam is coming inside and cooling water is flowing through these tubes. Because of this low temperature cooling water, steam loses its heat and converts into water or liquid phase, and it is being collected in form of condensate at the bottom of the condenser, that is hot well. The cooling media which is required in condenser is cold water. For the proper functioning of condenser, the terminal temperature difference of the fluid which is to be condensed and the cooling media must have minimum temperature difference of 10 degrees centigrade. So we require cooling water for condensing steam that is coming to the condenser. It requires huge quantity of water to condense steam. Most of the plants use cooled cooling system, where warm water coming from condenser is cooled and reused. Cooling tower is a steel or concrete hyperbolic structure, in general which has height of 150 meter. In some power plants where a nearby water resource or canal is available, in that case we will not see any cooling tower. Instead of that, the cold water of that reservoir itself is used for cooling media in condenser, and after using it, again it is thrown back after lowering its temperature to the reservoir. Feed water heaters are basically heat exchangers which are used in thermal power plant to preheat the feed water which is delivered to the steam generator. This preheating of the feed water reduces the irreversibilities involved in steam generation, and therefore it increases overall plant efficiency. It also prevents to develop thermal stress in boiler drum by avoiding entry of cold water. Feed water heaters are classified as HP heater and LP heater. Next important component is economizer. In economizer, we are extracting heat that is coming out from flue gases, and a part of this heat is used for heating the feed water. It helps in saving coal consumption and increases boiler efficiency. Air preheaters are a very important component of a thermal power plant. It plays a vital role in increasing the efficiency of thermal power plant. Mainly air preheaters are classified as recuperative and regenerative type of air preheaters, but mostly in thermal power plants we are using regenerative type of air preheater. The function of air preheater is to preheat the air before entering to the furnace by utilizing some of the energy that is left in the flue gas before exhausting them to the atmosphere through stack. So you can see in this figure that hot flue gas is coming. There are two passes. The hot flue gas is coming and it is going out, losing its heat to the incoming air. This section basically divided into two parts. One is a primary air and one is for secondary air. Sometimes a separate primary air and secondary air preheaters are used. So this cold air, atmospheric air, is passed and it gains the heat which is being contained by the flue gas. The flue gas transfers its heat to the incoming air and the air gets heated. Cooling of flue gases by 20 degrees centigrade increases the plant efficiency by 1%. So it is a very important factor that has to be remembered. Okay, how important is the air preheater and how it affects the efficiency of a thermal power plant. As we know that coal has a large quantity of ash, so after combustion a huge amount of ash is generated. To handle it, a different ash handling plant is used to be there. Similarly, the water treatment plant is also an important part of a thermal power plant. The ash from the boiler is collected in two forms. One is bottom ash. It is the waste which is dumped into ash pond. The bottom ash is mixed with water, forms a slurry, and finally it is being sent to the ash pond. Then there is a fly ash which goes with the flue gas, and fly ash is separated from the flue gas in electrostatic precipitator and which can be used for some other purposes as brick formation in cement industry or making of the road, etc. Water handling plant. The water which is used in power plant is for production of steam, then for cooling purpose, which is used for cooling various equipment, and in general, about 4 cubic meter water is lost per day per megawatt. The other important part of a thermal power plant is DM water generation plant. The main aim of the DM plant is to demineralize the raw water coming from a water source from any mineral present by chemical dosing, which may be harmful to the pipeline and boilers and lead to scale formation. Cooling tower also comes under DM. The main paths or circuits that is used in thermal power plants are as coal and ash circuit, air and gas circuit, feed water and steam circuit, then cooling water circuit. The flow chart of coal circuit is like that: coal transported through rail is unloaded through wagon tippler, then through conveyor belts, passing through magnetic separator. It goes to primary crusher, secondary crusher. Finally, it reaches to the thermal power plant or main plant area, and it is stored in rock wool bunker. And from rock wool bunker through pulverizer, it goes to the burner. Then comes the ash circuit. As we discussed earlier, ash we are getting in form of bottom ash that constitutes almost 80% of the total ash, and almost 20% of ash goes in form of fly ash. The bottom ash is mixed with water in form of slurry. It is sent to the ash ponds. The fly ash, which is collected in ESP, and finally it is taken to the silos, and from there it is sent to the various industries like cement industry or for making of the bricks. Next important path is air and flue gas path. So in flue gas path, the coal is combusted into the furnace, due to which flue gas is generated, and this flue gas come across that superheater, then it goes across economizer, then through air preheater, it goes to the electrostatic precipitator, then it is taken by ID fan, and finally it is exhausted into atmosphere with the help of chimney. Then comes air path. There are two types of supply of air. One is a primary air and another is secondary air, that is also known as combustion air. As we discussed, the purpose of primary air is to carry the coal, and which is supplied by primary air fan. The secondary air, that is also known as combustion air, is supplied by the FD fan. This air goes through air preheater and get heated, and finally it is supplied from the four corners into the furnace for the combustion of pulverized coal. Then comes cooling water circuit. The cooling water pump supplies water to the condenser, where the incoming steam from LP turbine loses its heat and get condensed, and finally this cooling water, which in this process gets heated, is again sent back to cooling tower for getting cooled. Next slide, we will see the flow diagram of steam power plant. This also exhibits the location of various equipments and their respective positions. The coal is transported to the power station by ropeway, railway, or road transport. The raw coal is stacked in coal handling plant where it gets crushed to 25 mm size. This crushed coal through conveyor belt is transported to the coal bunker, which is located above coal pulverizer. From bunker, a regulated flow of coal is fed by gravity to the pulverizers, which is then ground into fine powder of 75 micrometer particle size. The hot primary air is supplied to the pulverizers for the purpose of drying the coal and then carrying this pulverized coal to the coal burners at various elevations of the furnace. However, before firing the coal, the furnace is warmed up by oil firing to establish the flame and ignition temperature in the furnace. In a typical 210 megawatt boiler, there are generally 6 coal firing elevations and 3 oil firing elevations, which are embedded between coal elevations. In the furnace, coal powder burns more like a gas than a solid fuel. The air required for proper combustion is called secondary air, and it is supplied through wind box dampers located at all the corners of the furnace, all the 4 corners of the furnace. Here also you can see that FD fan, the secondary air through FD fan passes through air preheater, where it gets heated by the incoming stream of flue gas, and this heated air, secondary air, that is also known as combustion air, is supplied to the furnace. A negative draft of -10 mm of water column is maintained inside the furnace. The furnace is divided into 2 parts. This one is known as radiant zone and this one is known as convective zone. Due to combustion of coal, the flue gases are generated and they actually passes through the superheaters, reheaters, that is pattern superheater, reheater, final superheater, and then goes to the second pass, that is convective pass. It passes through LTSH, that is low temperature superheater, then it passes through economizer, and finally this flue gas through air preheater, it is through air preheater, it goes through electrostatic precipitator, where the fine particles which are in form of fly ash is taken away and the clean flue gas being sucked by ID fan and it is thrown into atmosphere through this chimney. Here also you can see the 4 corners in this corner fired furnace, and the coal and air is supplied from all the 4 corners. Some of the ash, which amounts nearly 20%, bind together to form lumps which fall into ash pit at the bottom of the furnace. From here, these lumps are being crushed and mixed with water, and this slurry is finally sent to the ash pond. This is total how the flue gas movement takes place through the furnace then it comes out from the furnace through air preheater, it goes to ESP, then from ESP it is being sucked by ID fan, and then through chimney it is exhausted into the atmosphere. The wall of the furnace is made up of water wall tubes. The heat released by the combustion of coal is absorbed by the water wall tubings. Feed water is supplied through the downcomers and bottom ring headers to water wall tubes by which this furnace wall is constructed. From the boiler drum, which is located at the top of the structure, generally at the 52 meter of the height, water absorbs the latent heat of evaporation and steam is generated in tubes. The heat transfer from fireball to the evaporator water wall tubes is mainly by radiation that takes in the first pass, that is radiant pass, and it absorbs about 55% of total heat generated in the furnace. The water and steam mixture thus formed flows to the boiler drum via riser tubes by natural circulation process. In boiler drum, because of the density difference, steam is separated from water. Here this is the boiler drum. As steam being lighter, it takes the upper space of the drum. This dry saturated steam passes through superheaters, and finally the main steam is generated. This we can see in this figure. This dry saturated steam coming out from the boiler is taken through superheaters. You can see here, and this final steam at a temperature of 540 degrees centigrade and 150 kg per centimeter square, that is main steam, is being fed to the HP turbine. In this HP turbine, steam is expanded. You can see here, this is inlet and this is exit from the steam turbine. The steam that is coming out from HP turbine, that is also known as CRH, passes through reheater, and from reheater it as hot reheat, which again attains the same temperature 540 degrees centigrade of the main steam, and at a pressure of 38 kg per centimeter square is sent to the IP turbine inlet. This medium pressure, high temperature steam is partially expanded into IP turbine, that is here, and finally after expansion it is directly admitted to the LP turbine. The steam is expanded in LP turbine to a very low back pressure, which is maintained by the condenser below atmospheric pressure, and about 3% of the makeup water is required to compensate the loss of cooling water due to the evaporation in cooling towers. This exhausted steam from LP turbine goes to condenser, where the steam loses its latent heat to the cooling water that comes from the cooling tower, and in this process this cooling water gets heated. Again it is sent back to the cooling tower to get cooled. This completes the steam cycle and cooling water cycle. The HP, IP and LP turbine are coupled in series, that is tandem compounded. Now we will see the condensate and feed water cycle. The condensate at 45 degree centigrade is collected in the hot well of condenser. From here it is extracted by CP and passed to the deaerator. This is deaerator. Deaerator's purpose is to remove the dissolved gases from the feed water by heating it through LP heaters and regenerative feed heating process. For heating of the feed water in the LP heater, steam is bleed from LP turbine and it is being sent to the LP heater for the heating of the feed water. During this process of heating in LP heater, the temperature of condensate rises from 45 degrees centigrade to 110 degrees centigrade. This heated feed water goes to deaerator. In deaerator, it is being heated by the extraction taken from IP turbine. You can see here the steam which is extracted from IP turbine for heating of the feed water in deaerator is known as pegging steam. The deaerated water at 160 degree centigrade temperature and about 6 kg per centimeter square pressure is stored in feed water tank located below the deaerator. This is your feed water tank. From this feed water heater tank, which is located below the deaerator, the feed water is sucked by boiler feed pump, 2 number of boiler feed pump, which consumes almost 3.5 megawatt each, and this feed water now goes through 2 HP heaters, HP heater number 5, HP heater number 6. In HP feed water heaters, the heat is transferred to the feed water by the blade steam drawn from HP and IP. You can see here, one is going to HP heater number 5 and one extraction is coming from IP turbine which goes to HP heater number 6. This total heating in feed water heaters is known as regenerative feed heating process and which improves the steam cycle efficiency significantly, which we will see in coming classes when we will discuss the steam cycle theory. So with this we had completed in this diagram we had seen this coal path, then this is air path, flue gas path, then steam path, cooling water path. This completes the steam power plant flow diagram. This figure shows a schematic of tangential corner fired coal furnace. You can see there is an arrangement of in order COCA, that is coal air at different elevations. From all the 4 corners, you can assume that the furnace has a square or rectangular shape, and from all 4 corners the supply of coal, air or oil takes place. The coal and air, they are tangentially fired so that it creates a turbulence and proper mixing of coal and air, combustion takes place, and at the center of the furnace a fireball is generated at different elevations, and from there the heat in form of radiant energy goes through the water valves and generation of steam takes place. The dry saturated steam which is being separated in the boiler drum is further sent through the different superheaters, and finally we are getting main steam as we discussed earlier at 540 degrees centigrade and 150 kg per centimeter square. And this flue gas further passes through LTSH, low temperature superheater, and economizer, finally through air preheater and ESP, it goes out through chimney. The construction detail and arrangement of the pressure parts will be discussed in the coming classes in detail. This is a picture of coal burner. To understand more clearly the flow of feed water and steam flow, we can use this line diagram. Here you can see that cooling water, which is used to condense the steam that is coming from LP turbine in condenser, comes from cooling tower. This condensate at around 45 degrees centigrade is sucked by CP condensate extraction pump. From here it goes to the LP heater, and for heating the steam, blade steam, the steam which is blade from LP turbine is used for heating purpose. This heated steam around 110-120 degrees centigrade goes to deaerator. In deaerator, for heating extraction comes from IP turbine. Here you can see this is vent condenser. By this heating process, the dissolved gases, mainly oxygen, carbon dioxide, are liberated through this vent condenser, and the gas-free, the dissolved gas-free feed water is finally sucked by boiler feed pump. The inlet condition at boiler feed pump is 160 degrees centigrade and roughly 9 kg per centimeter square. After this pumping, this feed water goes through two HP heaters. In heating, the heating media for HP heaters are the blade steam, one that comes from the IP and one that comes from the HP turbine. One thing one has to remember that in this LP heater and HP heater, the heating is only sensible heating. It means only there is a change in temperature, the phase will remain liquid only. And one more thing you can observe, at inlet the temperature of condensate to LP heater is at 45 degrees centigrade, then it is coming out at roughly 120 degrees centigrade. From deaerator, the temperature of feed water becomes 160 degrees centigrade. When it is taken or it is pumped by boiler feed pump, its pressure increases, and this 160 degree centigrade feed water goes through HP heater, where it takes sensible heat and its temperature becomes roughly 240-245 degrees centigrade, and in this pumping process its pressure also increases from 9 kg per centimeter square to 180 kg per centimeter square. And finally, through feed regulating station, this feed water through economizer in saturated condition goes to boiler drum, where steam and water, because of density difference, is separated. The steam which is stored in the upper part, as it is by virtue of its lower density, it is taken from top of the boiler drum, then it passes through superheater, and finally through high pressure turbine, stop valve and control valve, it goes, or you can say it entered to HP turbine at a pressure and temperature of 150 kg per centimeter square and 540 degrees centigrade respectively. This is called as main steam. The saturated water through downcomer and from bottom ring header again goes to the water valve, and this total process is being repeated. That steam after expansion at 38 kg per centimeter square and 340 degrees centigrade, that is known as cold reheat, passes through reheater, and in reheating process its temperature is again gained to the temperature of the main steam, that is 540 degrees centigrade, and due to some friction losses the pressure becomes 35 kg per centimeter square at the inlet of IP turbine, and this steam goes through stop valve and control valve of IP turbine. After expansion of steam in IP turbine, that expanded steam is directly being fed to the LP turbine at a pressure of roughly 8 kg per centimeter square and a temperature of 330 degrees centigrade. And this steam after expansion from LP turbine, exhausted steam goes to the condenser, and in this manner this total process gets completed. The specification of 210 megawatt boiler, basically it is a radiant type, reheat because we are using reheater, natural circulation. Generally in 210 megawatt boiler we are not using any circulating pump or CW pump. It is single drum, water cooled, balanced draft and dry bottom. The fuel what we are using, the main fuel is our pulverized coal. For warm up we are using LFO, and for startup we are using HFO. This LFO is also called LDO, light diesel oil. Generally steam flow at final superheater is around 680 tons per hour. Pressure and temperature at final superheater outlet is 154.5 kg per centimeter square and 540 degrees centigrade. And temperature of feed water at economizer will be 243 degrees centigrade. This is a schematic of wind box, sectional view of wind box. The detailing will be done in the coming classes. This is furnace plan, and this is typical corner elevation. See, it will be in same fashion at the four corners of the furnace. These are the secondary air dampers. Then port are opening for the coal air. This is a three-dimensional view of a pulverized fuel boiler. These four corners you can see. These are the pressure parts. This is boiler drum, which will give you more clear view of a corner fired pulverized fuel boiler. Though we will deal in detail over the turbine, just an overview of the turbine which is used in thermal power plant. Its make is KWU. There are two types of turbine, basically LMW and KWU. LMW were Russian makes and KWU is German make. Its type is 3-cylinder, that is HP, IP, LP. It is a reaction type of turbine, single reheat, and they are tandem compounded. They are in series. Its rated output is 210 megawatt. The speed will be 3000 RPM. These data already we had seen. This hot reheat pressure temperature flow at inlet of IP turbine is 35 kg per centimeter square, 540 or 535 degrees centigrade, and flow is 480 ton per hour. Back pressure at exit of LP turbine will be of an order of 0.1 kg per centimeter square absolute. Turbine heat rate in general, it used to be 1980 kilocalorie per kilowatt hour. Here I would like to tell something about this turbine heat rate. Basically, it is a plant performance parameter. It is defined as the heat input required to generate 1 unit of electric power output, or we can say heat rate is heat input in boiler in kilojoules divided by electrical output from generator, that is in kilowatt hour. In turbine, in a SP turbine, there are 25 number of stages. IP turbine, because it is double flow, so there are 2 sets of 20 reaction stages. In LP turbine, it is again double flow, so there are 2 sets of 8 reaction stages. The detailing of generator and how generator functions, there is a separate class in detail over it. The turbine, which is prime mover, rotates the shaft, because of which generator rotates. The speed of generator depends on grid frequency. Generally, the rated speed is 3000 RPM, because in India the grid frequency is 50 Hertz, and in this type of thermal generators there will be 2 poles. The regulated excitation DC voltage is supplied to the generator rotor via spring loaded carbon brushes and slip rings. This you can see here. This is supply. This is field exciter switch. The rotor is housed inside the stator, having 3-phase coils of copper bars in which electrical current is produced due to cutting of rotating magnetic field created by the rotor. The generator terminal voltage is maintained at 15.75 kilovolt, which then stepped up to 220 kV or 400 kV by generator transformer, that is GT, depending on the grid voltage. The generator is connected to the bus by isolators and circuit breaker arrangement located in switchyard, from where power is transmitted to the substations. Hereafter, the power distribution network starts. So these detailing, you don't bother. The detailing of the electrical part will be done in the coming classes in detail. For developing an understanding, we will see here the inputs and outputs which is required for 100 megawatt power generating unit. So per day roughly 12,000 tons coal is required. The furnace oil which is required 101 meter cube per day. These are rough data basically. Many things varies upon, like the coal consumption depends upon the quality of the coal, your operation procedure, how you are operating the plant, then water that is used 98,000 meter cube per day. So due to the combustion of coal, almost 30,000 tons per day carbon dioxide is emitted, 680 tons per day sulfur dioxide and NOx is emitted. In this process, total 1000 megawatt power is generated. Some portion of that power is taken back for running of the auxiliaries of power plant, and remaining is being fed to the grid. A rough cost estimation of thermal power generation. The major cost involved is with the fuel that shares almost 66%. Then capital cost is 28%, and operating cost, that is a variable, it varies and it shares somewhere 6% of the total generation cost. The conversion of heat energy into mechanical or electrical energy is basically thermodynamically inefficient process, since heat is a low grade energy, work is a high grade energy. Out of the available heat from coal combustion, 88% is used for generation of steam. So here you can see there is a loss of 12%. This steam finally goes to turbine, it rotates turbine, and there is only 41% is made available as a mechanical power because of various reasons, because of the efficiency of turbine, and this prime mover rotates generator, and finally we are getting only 39% as electrical power. So this shows starting from 100% energy of coal what we got, only we are landing at somewhere 39% of electrical power, as heat is a low grade energy and work is high grade energy, and full conversion of this low grade energy into high grade energy is not possible. And then the individual equipments efficiency also comes in picture, and these efficiency are multiplicative in nature. So finally we are getting the overall efficiency as somewhere 35 to 39, 40%, like that. Thermal power plant works on modified Rankine cycle. Here we are just showing simple cycle. The details of the Rankine cycle will be dealt in coming classes. Here you can see the boiler where heat is added, turbine is work producing device, condenser where the heat rejection takes place, and pump requires some work input to pump condensate or feed water from hot well to the boiler. And this is your TS diagram. Here we can see point 1 represent the outlet condition of condenser, and 2 point is the condition after pumping, which is the inlet to the boiler. In boiler, heat is added. So for the generation of steam, first it starts taking sensible heat where temperature changes. You can see here temperature is changing. Then when it reaches, that feed water reaches to the saturation temperature, then phase transfer or latent heating takes place, where the saturated liquid, saturated feed water gets converted into dry saturated steam, and this in between zone is basically your wet zone, where both the phases, liquid as vapor, coexist. This line shows the boiler pressure limit. This line shows the condenser pressure limit. That this dry saturated steam, when passes through the superheaters, what we had seen in our earlier discussion, gets superheated. By superheating, its work producing capability increases as it have more heat content. This superheated steam further expands in a turbine. We are assuming here that this expansion process is isentropic. Finally, this expansion in turbine takes place in wet zone. It ends in wet zone, and this from 4 to 1 is heat rejection process. Now the latent heat of steam is rejected, and the phase change also gets started from this steam. It again converted into the saturated liquid, and again this same cycle gets repeated. So detailing of this we will see when we will discuss over the steam generation and steam cycle theory. With this, we come to an end of today's discussion. I hope that you have got a fair idea how the electricity is being generated from the coal, the various processes involved in between, the various components involved, and finally, we had also seen in brief the conversion efficiency part, and in very brief, the thermodynamic cycle, that is Rankine cycle, over which the thermal power plant works. Thank you for hearing, and if any queries, you feel free to contact at this given email ID. Thank you very much.